Okay guys, we now have the full reveal of the Destroid Defender from Macross. This was sold by Bandai, and it's actually a repackaged kit that was sold during the 80s from Imai, I think it was. We'll be looking that up on ScaleMate so we can give you the full info on that. But being a kit from the 80s, it shows. If you followed the entire build, you saw that this thing has some incredible seam lines, all of which have to be repaired and filled in order to have a decent looking build. So this thing took quite a bit of effort for me to get it done in time, as this was a last minute addition to my build schedule because I really wanted to have a mech to show at MosquitoCon, the IPMS model show, which was just last week as of the date that I'm recording this video. So I went ahead and pulled a bunch of all-nighters to get this thing done. I'm very happy with the way it came out. The weathering came out exactly the way I had hoped, and it just looks exactly the way I wanted to. And as modelers, you all know that very rarely do things come out exactly the way that we envision. But this one did, and I am very happy and very proud of it. I've done quite a few modifications to it. So if you followed the video, you know them all. If you haven't, go back and watch the rest of the episodes because it's a really interesting build. And I wish I had recorded everything that I did, but I just couldn't find the time to record and do the build and all the editing in the time that I needed to get this model done. So I'll go over the modifications now, and hopefully most of them are in the build series. If not, I will be building another one of these soon, and that one will be fully lit, so that should be a really interesting thing to see. So let me just show you guys what I did as far as modification goes. Now, the first thing that you can see that I've done is, if we look within the scanner eye module, which is in the center of the mech, there is actually photo etched interior detailing that I added to it. You can see that there. I added that to the kit just to give a little extra detail underneath the clear cover, because all that was just a flat piece of plastic, and as far as I was concerned, it needed some spicing up. So I think this really makes it look like there's some sort of circuitry or machinery under there, and really makes that much more visually interesting. I then added a couple of pieces of sprue underneath the scanner module itself, which is the red square there, just to add a little more detail in there, because I thought that it was just a little bit of a blank space, and I hate negative blank spaces on sci-fi builds. It always looks like they need something. Now, those were the first two alterations I did. The next one I did was I added this plate here. Just move the arm out of the way. This plate here on the body, which covers a really nasty seam line that ran diagonally across the body underneath that plate. And I couldn't just leave that way because I really thought that let's see if I can bring it up closer. There, you guys can see that. I really just didn't think it looked good. So I had to cover it up. And I made the plate out of styrene, the rivets out of a styrene rod I had. I just cut them to shape, glued them on because I wanted them to kind of look like the other panels that were on the body. So it just kind of fits in with the model. And it was done on both sides. So I think that really was one of the major improvements done to this kit. Now, other modifications that I did was I added stainless steel mesh to the vents here, as these look sort of like exhaust ports to me. So I figured, we'll put some mesh in there just to give a little detail. Otherwise, it would have just been blank squares with a little bit of paint on the inside. I did the same thing here, a little bit of mesh under there, just to give a little extra detail underneath, in all those areas that look like they were just missing something. Now you can see here all the seam lines. This thing, it had a nasty seam line that ran right down the center of the gun. Nasty seam lines that ran right across the center of the legs. I mean, it really was just a mess of seam lines, which, you know, considering the era that it was made, it's understandable. So, but I couldn't leave it that way. So, did all of that, and we can take a good look at all of the weathering. This was the first time I had ever tried this technique of using a sponge to provide the chipping effect, and using multiple colors. I probably had about 3 or 4 color process on the paint on the body, which I've described completely in the video series. So if you want to see how I did it, you can just follow the series, and I go over all the colors that I used and how I did the chipping effect. Then I took plastic beads, because the mech itself has red lenses inside of the gun, which I'm going to assume are laser targeting emitters. There's not really any description of what they are, but they are red, and they are some sort of lens type device in there. I'll put a picture of the animated mech right here on the screen, so you guys can see what it looks like on the original design. So I figured I had to put one in there just to beef that design up, just to follow the original design of the mech a little bit. Now, underneath the ammo cans, now the ammo cans, I found that in many different versions of this mech, they are different colors. Some are body color, some are almost like an olive drab or green. I wanted to keep them in the metallic gray that I have here, because I just thought they'd look a little more interesting that way, as they stand out as separate components on the mech. So that was just a personal choice for me. I just like the way this looks. May not be totally canon correct, but I think it looks cool. Now, one of the cool features of this mech, which we'll go into the features now, since I just said the word feature, it's got articulating cannon arms, which are loose, by the way. So you're gonna have to thicken up the pins that hold them in there just to tighten the fit. This is one of the mechs that really could have benefited from the use of polycaps, but this one doesn't have any. So I kind of just wrapped a little piece of tape around the pin, and that thickened it up enough just to hold the arms in and hold them in position. Now, the headlights are done by using bare metal foil. Oh, I'm sorry, Hasegawa mirror finish behind the lenses on both the chest and on the knees, which gives them their reflective backing, really gives them a real headlight type effect. Underneath each one of the ammo cans, which I left removable, you can see the mechanics of the mech, which I have just detail painted just to bring it up and get a little more visual interest. It can be displayed with the ammo cans on or off. In the video, I show how I corrected the excessive play that was in the antenna so that it's not flopping all over the place. You can see the chipping extends even to the decals. Here on the back, we have the exhaust port along the back of the mech. Now, the outer portion of the exhaust port, I've seen different builds where that's painted metallic color. I thought it would look good painted the same body as the mech, so I left it that way. And here we have the back of the legs. I went to the excessive chipping on the feet and on the legs, as that would be what would take most of the punishment, as it's running and crushing and stomping on things, as walking around. It's going to chip the feet and the legs up more than anything else on the body, and I am really, really happy with the way that came out. So there we have it, guys. Overall, it's a really cool model. If you put the extra work in, it really shows fantastically. It's got a little bit of side to side on the legs here to give you a very dynamic pose. There's not a lot of leg movement because of the design of the mech here. You can't really move much further than that, so you're only going to get about that much forward to rear movement on the legs. You got a little bit of position here, and then you have the foot, which pivots to allow you to put it in a running pose, and it'll actually stand. So let's just put it back down. But it allows you to give you a really nice poses and positions you can put them in, and looks really cool. Oh, you also have waist swivel, so you can actually face different directions and fire in the directions that he's facing. Wow, that one's still a little loose. I may have to tighten that up a little bit. As I said, the fit is a little loose. I may have to thicken that pin up a little bit more. But you see here, you can get quite a few dynamic poses out of him. You know, he really is just one giant walking anti-aircraft artillery battery, which is really cool. And my inspiration for the coloring came from the desert colors of the M1 Abrams tank. As when I look at this guy, what I see is a walking tank, a really heavy, hulking machine, and that's kind of what I wanted to get across on this build. I wanted it to look heavy. I wanted it to look like it was gonna shake the ground as it walked, as that is my favorite kind of mech. I am very old school when it comes to my mechs. I like them to look heavy. I like them to look like they would shake the earth as they walk by. The current modern day mechs are a little too human looking for me. They've lost some of the machine qualities and become more human looking, a little more delicate looking. And for me, from the standpoint of me wanting to see big heavy fighting machines, I want them to be big and bulky. And these old Macross mechs, along with alright, as I was saying, I like my mechs to look big and heavy, and I want them to look like machines that can do some serious damage. Alright guys, that's gonna be it. This is the final reveal of the Destroid Defender. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you like it, because I'm extremely happy with the way it came out, and I'm looking forward to doing more. I'll have an announcement pretty soon on what my next build is going to be, which is going to be pretty cool for all you sci-fi fans out there. So thanks for watching and following along on this build, and if you haven't seen the whole thing, go back and watch it from the beginning. This is one that I find very interesting, even though I'm the one who did it, so you know, I'm a little biased, but I just kind of like it. Really love the way this came out. And I guess like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the YouTube blah blah, and I will see you guys on the next one. And believe me, the next one's going to be really cool.